Deputy White House editor Evan McMorris-Santoro is White House reporter for BuzzFeed. Happy New Year's Eve to both of you. And let's start with this. What's the potential for a nightmare scenario for the administration? It's only been a week since the last sign-up had happened. And when we think about this, we have to ask, might folks here, might people get the wrong coverage or no coverage at all when they do show up there, Rebecca?
Well, this has been the big question for the administration. Obviously, just how many of the back-end issues with the website have been resolved in the run-up. We've seen all the focus on the front end, the problems with the website, those were resolved. But all along, you've still been hearing complaints from insurers that they've been receiving duplicate or enrollments. And so now as it gets closer and closer, the nightmare scenario, which you obviously have people in the administration crossing their fingers, is scores of people on January 1st discovering that they may have assumed they were insured, but perhaps they aren't. So that remains to be seen as the Obamacare era officially starts tomorrow.
Yeah, it is a one-week gap, as I said, between the last person who signed up and then they'll have to implement come January 1st. And next week on January 6th when folks actually start to get back to work. So when you look at this here, Evan, if we start getting some reports of problems with coverage, does that undo all the good news that the administration has been pushing out? If they have, these sorts of problems after the surge in enrollments, which seem to be good for them?
Well, it's certainly been a problem in the past, right? I mean, what we've seen throughout this thing is there's a lot of positive news that the White House wants to talk about in terms of options for coverage, eliminating a lot of the things that insurance had people didn't like in the past, such as, pre-existing condition bans, things like that, that are gone now. But all those things are often overshadowed by these website problems and technical problems with the website and with the rollout of Obamacare. So, we've got to sort of get used to the idea, I guess. We've gotten used to the idea that sort of glitches are what dominate this process. I think the White House has been talking a lot about
basically, which a lot of folks are saying, is that the right way to do it, right?
I'm sorry?
Beta testing in public is what folks are saying. Is that the right way to do it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it certainly does appear that way, right? I mean, the thing is, I think you'd be hard-pressed to predict that anything would go right with the rollout of the way the website works, the way things have gone so far. But the White House is extremely confident these days. I mean, they're talking a lot about these big numbers of people they had, this big interest that they have in the website, interest that they have in healthcare, and they feel like that interest is the kind of good news that they need to sort of overcome these glitches and all these sort of problems with actually implementing the program.
So half full, if the bar's low, they might turn out well then, given that current run rate, right?
That's, I think, how they would like to see it, I think.
Okay. Hey, I want to ask about this because in addition to January 1 expansion of the number of folks that have signed up through the exchange, there's also the expansion of Medicaid come Jan 1, affecting 25 states and the District of Columbia. So, Rebecca, are the states ready for that, too? That's a big number.
Well, we're already seeing some of those states scrambling. Obviously, California having its own issues and states elsewhere. But, this is one reason that we're seeing from the administration this new push. We already know that 2014 is shaping up to be kind of the war of anecdotes. And so the administration is rolling out, the administration, its allies on Capitol Hill, and also advocacy groups who've been proponents of the Affordable Care Act are pushing these individual stories. They're getting ready with individual stories of people who've benefited from insurance they've received under the Affordable Care Act.
What about Medicaid, though, here, Rebecca?
Oh, absolutely. And that's another huge issue. And one of the interesting things that we're going to see, I think, from the administration is the contrast between states who have enrolled people under Medicaid and states that have not. And so that's a push that we saw last month, where they were highlighting the numbers of enrollments. But, of course, as these glitches pile up, and we're expecting to see some of them, again, California is going to be a huge issue. They've enrolled almost more people than anyone else, clearly. And so seeing how that rollout takes place is going to be kind of the next frontier in this narrative war.
Evan, as we look forward to 2014, all things come to pass. We go past the March 31st deadline. But the next open enrollment, looking forward to the next year, and that's what Republicans might be looking at. In that date, that November 14th date, do they have the time and will they be able to meaningfully make a push to repeal, change, or offer a new plan by then? And we're talking about an election year, 2014.
Well, I think Republicans realize they need to have some sort of better messaging on this. I mean, it's going to be very hard to push repeal of this bill now that there's so many people who are actually getting benefits from the bill. I mean, one of the reasons why there was so much talk about repeal and stopping this thing and the government shutdown and everything that we went through was the idea that they had to sort of stop this bill before it became an active part of American life. And now it is part of American life. It makes it much more difficult to go to people who are getting insurance now for the first time and say, you know, we want to take that insurance away. So Republicans are trying to sort of build some kind of message that they have of their own, of some alternative. But that, of course, runs into the problems within the GOP itself, where they're having their own problems sort of working as a cohesive unit as a party. There's a lot of infighting going on, a lot of people on one side or the other. So they need to sort of solve those problems, and then they can maybe create, you know, an alternative health care plan, and then try to use that as an election cudgel. But that's a heavy lift for a party that's been going through a lot of sort of growing pains since 2010.
Yeah, and again, the election happening, and that can put everything up in the air. We'll see where that will land for the next year. Appreciate your time, Evan. McMorris-Santoro, Rebecca Cinderbrand. Have a great New Year's.
Thanks.